change people's lives for the better. We're talking professionally and personally. And that's a big deal. And our whole goal with Momentum Builder, as I know Brittany knows, because Brittany, you're one of our originators. You're with us from the very get-go, which is
I
kind of
am.
cool.
I'm an OGMB.
That's right. One of our previous Momentum Builder speakers, future Momentum Builder speaker. And you believed in this mission since day one, which is really cool.
Yes, I think I was there when you and Gino were talking about doing the event for the first time, right? When we were at that
Yep.
Italian restaurant, even beyond the
Oh, when we first met you.
that
That's
first
right.
time. Yeah, you guys were talking about it. You were like, oh, we're going to do an event and we want to get this together. So it's been amazing to see this community go from an idea to an actual group of people who are so engaged and dedicated to changing their lives and the lives of the members of the community they serve.
Well, Brittany, we met Brittany actually at an event we went to. Is a funny story because it was kind of cool as we went to a WOW Summit, which is put on by Social Survey, which is now experience.com, where their goals are is to gather up reviews from your clients and actually let you utilize them in the best fashion. And they put together a group of amazing speakers. And we were invited to this event and we were having dinner with Dave Savage and some of the influencers in the industry, and Gino and I were just excited to be there. And we had this beautiful young lady who's sitting with us, and we're like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "Oh, I'm just helping MC." I'm like, "Okay, that's nice." They have this cute, well-spoken girl who's going to MC, and then she goes up on stage and slays it. And she does her whole presentation on building super fans. We did not know she was a keynote, so nicely done, by the way. You tricked us. We thought, "Oh, I'm just an MC." You're a keynote, and you've been a keynote at PRMG's sales rally recently. You've been a keynote at Momentum Builder a few times, and we're going to bring you back because I love your transition and you're walking the walk because you're always growing. And, our goal is to always grow. And if you're stagnant, then you're going nowhere. And I love seeing you go from expressing how to build super fans. You have a great story, and we'll let you get into that, but also how to create an amazing experience. You transition to including, it's really about the experience, not just creating super fans, but what do you do with those fans when you get them? And our goal in sales, everybody on this call, in one way, shape, or form, is in sales. Whether you're communicating with them or trying to create sales, you are in sales. And that's why we brought Brittany back, because no one does a better job of telling the story and how to differentiate yourself from the competition, and how to, our success, Brittany, as you know, is getting the clients to come back and refer us. It's not transactional. It cannot be transaction based every single week and recreating yourself every week. You will not survive. You will not grow. You will not expand and become successful. You have to build your database and get your database to sell you. And that's your expertise. So with that being said, Brittany, I'm going to let you kind of take the floor. We encourage questions. This is an open forum. This is for you all out there. We just bring in the experts to help you. So Brittany, why don't you kind of share with us, where Superfans came from and where it's evolved to?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you said wisely that everyone is in sales, and that is true. I'm going to piggyback on that and say everyone is in the experience department. I don't care what your job title is. I don't care how long you've been in the organization, what your role is day to day. You are impacting the way that customers think about your brand. Your brand isn't just your logo. It's not just some picture on the wall. It's not your name. It's the dedication day in and day out, how you treat your customers and what they say about you when asked by a friend or a colleague or a neighbor or a member of the community. Everything is experience. So regardless of your title, yes, you're in the sales department. Yes, you're in the customer service department. Yes, you're in the marketing department. And most importantly, you are in the experience department, because we are living in an experience economy. People no longer buy products or services. They buy the experiences that they are packaged in. And when you're selling something like mortgages that is like very nebulous to a lot of people because they can't see it, they can't feel it, they can't touch it. They like maybe think they know what it is, but they don't totally understand what it is. That experience is more important than ever before. It is the number one differentiator between you and everyone else in the world who does exactly what you do or something very similar to what you do. That experience is the key differentiator and the thing that makes you uncopyable and catapults you from that commodity provider to a category of one in your industry. Yes, Don?
I love the uncopyable. I've never heard you say that.
Uncopyable.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, I'm going to share some slides with you guys here. I'll go through a quick presentation and then we will do Q&A. Does that sound good?
Oh, look at you adding in our logo and everything.
I
That's
mean,
creating an experience for us too.
got
Nicely
to.
done.
All right. Well, yeah, we'll quickly go through some things that I want to share with you. You ask about super fans and the sort of transformation. So I wrote a book called Creating Super Fans: How to Turn Your Customers into Lifelong Advocates. And in that book, I share a 5-part framework that you and everyone on your team can use to treat customers in a way that makes them want to come back, to train your employees to embrace customer centricity and have it be top of mind. It's a 5-part framework. The acronym SUPER stands for start with your story, understand your customer's story, personalize, exceed expectations, and repeat. We are going to be talking today exclusively about exceeding expectations. So a super fan is a customer who has such a great experience with you that they become an enthusiastic advocate. They're not just coming back, but they're also telling their friends. So those are the experiences that we are going to focus on creating. Now, you may have seen this meme before. It says modern art is, I could do that, plus, yeah, but you didn't. And I always laugh when I see this because I think about, like that banana that was duct taped to the wall that sold for 6 figures, or some of the museum I've seen in places like the Museum of Modern Art before. And it always makes me smile. But then when I think about experience, it's kind of the same thing. In fact, I say that experience is, I could do that, plus, yeah, so why don't you? None of the things that I'm going to talk about in the next half hour are difficult. They are all incredibly, exceedingly simple. They're not easy, but they're simple. And because of that, you can implement them right away. You can teach your team to have the discipline to execute these things again and again and again. And because they are simple but not easy, a lot of your competitors aren't doing these things, either because they think the answer must be much more complicated, or simply because they haven't correctly aligned their time around the things that matter. So we're going to be talking about intentionality and experience design as a way that you can differentiate not just your services, but also the experience that your customers have when they work with you. So the most beloved brands out there, the most customer-centric brands, the ones that are the best in the world, they do not settle for good enough, and you should not either. Because if you want your customers to come back and tell their friends, you're constantly having to up your game. Because here's the thing, people aren't just comparing their experience working with you to the best experience they've had getting a mortgage. They're comparing it to the best experience they've had anywhere. Period. And the stakes are constantly getting higher. The stakes are constantly improving. Like people are, becoming accustomed to being able to get things instantaneously, or having personalized information, or using AI. And I got to tell you, this is not going to go in the other direction. We have an entire generation of people who've grown up with a computer in their pocket, who've been able to literally ask the air any question they want and have Alexa or Siri or another virtual assistant answer them. So you're going to have to continue to up your game. Now, sometimes people ask me when I'm talking about experience, if I'm talking high tech or high touch? And I always say the answer is both, because I don't believe that those of you on this call are going to have your jobs go away in the next couple of decades by technology. I mean, we've seen what's happened with Better and some of the other people who have tried to get into the space. But as a customer, somebody who is spending 6 or 7 or even 8 figures on a home wants to trust a person. They don't want to trust, a nameless, faceless app or website. They want to have that human-to-human interaction because it's such a huge, complex, confusing, important decision for their family. So I don't believe that technology is going to replace you, but I promise you that the LOs and mortgage professionals who embrace technology will 100% replace the ones who do not. You must embrace technology. You must leverage it to help scale your time so that you can provide consistently amazing experiences, some of them high tech and some of them high touch. And with intentionality, you can find the perfect mix of the two, which we're going to talk about. Now, you guys may have seen this story. It was from about a year ago, last summer. A woman named Beth shared this story of how much her grandmother loved to have the peach milkshakes at Chick-fil-A. And so when peach milkshake season rolled around, she shared a message saying how much her grandma loved them and she was going to have one on her honor. Now, Chick-fil-A could have simply replied to this social message or liked it or hearted it, but instead they DM'd Beth and said, "Hey, what's your address?" And then a couple of days later, Beth got some virtual coupons for milkshakes and thought, "Oh, that's so nice. That's really sweet." But she was blown away when a couple of days after that, she received a handwritten note from the Chick-fil-A team saying, "It sounds like your grandma was an amazing woman. We wanted you to keep this picture of her in this peach colored frame. Enjoy unlimited peach milkshakes on us. And thank you for being a Chick-fil-A customer." Your customers are sharing details about their lives all the time, all around you. And by listening and paying attention, you can create those amazing experiences before, during, and after the transaction. Now, I don't know about you guys. I'm curious, and I bet a lot of you remember the first time you saw your teacher outside of school when you were a kid. I know I did. And it blew my mind. Like, I did not know as a 6-year-old how to react to seeing my teacher at the grocery store, because it had just never occurred to me that she existed outside of the walls of school. I had never thought about the fact that she was an actual human person with a family and a life. Because to me, she was just Mrs. Beatty. She was just my first grade teacher. Many of your competitors don't think about their customers beyond the confines of that deal. They think of them as a loan application number or a credit score or a series of forms. You've got to take the time to get to know your customers beyond that. Because here's the thing about those superfan customers I was talking about before. The place that they are born, the place that they are created, is at the intersection of your story and theirs. This story about Beth and her grandma was so widespread and went so viral because we could all relate to it. The intersection of her story and Chick-fil-A's story. And they took advantage of this and said, "We're going to do something to give back to you." And for anybody right now saying "Well, yeah, but I sell mortgages. What could I do that people care about?" You're helping people find stability for their lives. You're helping give them security for their family. You're helping them build generational wealth. It is so important. And that's why I want you to remember that you can create these types of experiences. Now, I'm a firm believer that there's really only 3 types of interactions that any of us have as people on this planet, whether it's one-to-one, whether it's one-to-many, whether it's in person or it's virtual, like the experience we're having right now. At the end of every single experience, you will feel only one of 3 ways. You will feel worse than when you started, better than when you started, or exactly the same as when you started. That's it. Every interaction, no matter how small or how large, you're going to leave it better, worse, or exactly the same. Your job as loan originators and mortgage professionals should be to leave your customers not just better than you found them, like at the end when the loan closes, but in every interaction, at every touch point. Every time you're in front of them, you have the ability to literally change their day by making them feel better. And the opportunities are everywhere, all around you. What can you do to elevate an interaction into a memorable experience? That's the question I want you to ask yourselves, whether it's in an email, whether it's via text, whether it's a phone call. How can you make it not just as bland and boring as, asking for that form, but how can you elevate the experience? This is a picture of my son Cato at Legoland, and the Legoland Hotel in Florida. We just got back last week. We were at the Legoland Resort for our second trip. This photo was from our first trip, which was about a year ago. And for the entire interim between last year and last week, my kids were begging to go back to Legoland. And one of my son's favorite parts, now mind you, it's a resort with a theme park. So there's like a swimming pool and roller coasters and costumed characters and a lot going on. Every Lego store you could imagine, every Lego statue you can imagine. But my son couldn't stop talking about the elevator. This is a picture inside the elevator. And as you can tell, it is a disco dance party. There were lights and mirror balls and floor to ceiling decals. And every time the doors closed, it would be like the Bee Gees or ABBA just blaring. It was a party. And my kids could not wait to get in that elevator and dance and sing and have fun. It wasn't until the third day that we were at the resort that first time that I realized that elevator was the slowest one I had ever been on in my life. And not metaphorically, because of the fun, literally, it was so slow. It took the whole song Dancing Queen to get from the lobby to the 5th floor where we were staying. But it took me 3 days to even notice how slow that elevator was. And then after I noticed, I didn't even mind. I didn't mind the long wait to get on the elevator. I didn't mind the fact that it was going to take 2 minutes to get from the 5th floor down to the lobby, even if nobody else got on, because they had turned it into an experience. Right now in your business, I promise there are slow elevators, whether that's waiting for appraisals, whether that's waiting for underwriters, whether that's something else that you feel like is beyond your control, rather than just accepting that and being well, that's how it is. I can't make underwriting go any faster, or, well, that's how it is. I can't fix the interest rates. I challenge you to think about how you can reframe that reality. You may not be able to make the elevator go faster, but can you turn it into a disco dance party? And that's the intentionality that I want you to bring to every phase of your business, every customer interaction, because everything is experience. You've probably heard the saying, experience is everything, and that's true. Experience is everything. It's the number one differentiator between you and everyone else who does what you do, as I've been saying. But the inverse of that is even more important. Everything is experience. Every touch point, every phone call, all of it. Somebody said to me not that long ago, only fat people run on treadmills. People who are in shape run outside. Now, that would have been inappropriate enough coming from I don't know, anyone on the planet, but you know who said it? The guy delivering my new treadmill. I was what are you talking about? And now every single time I look at the Nordic Track logo, that is what I think about. I don't even know how many people work for Nordic Track, but I know that I don't think about any of them. I don't think about any other products or, services that Nordic Track offers. I just think of that one guy, because everyone is in the experience department and everything is experience. So what do we do? Well, I want to challenge you guys to map out the moments that matter most to your customers, the ones that have the potential to have the biggest impact. Where are the opportunities to elevate an interaction into an experience, a moment that they're going to remember and tell their friends about? And I want to challenge you guys to think about this in 3 distinctive buckets: before, during, and after the transaction, because we tend regardless of the industry we're in, people tend to spend a disproportionate amount of their time focusing on the during. So like from the time somebody calls you and says, I need a loan, to the day that loan is closed, like that is the during. But the before and the after are so critically important. And if you can reallocate some of your time to before and after, you will absolutely get more referrals. You will absolutely have higher reviews, and you will have customers who come back and are ready to sing your praises. So let's talk about the before the transaction. You all are experts in your space. Are you taking advantage of that expertise? Are you creating quick videos or blog posts or emails talking about things that you wish people knew before they got a loan? Things like why they should be pre-approved, or what it means to get a VA loan, or, how much house somebody can actually afford. All of these types of questions that someone buying a home is looking for. Maybe you live in a place where there are a lot of people moving from out of state. You could create content talking about what you need to know if you're leaving California and moving to Montana, right? All of these things that you can do before the transaction to set yourself apart, so that the customers don't want to work with any lender. They want to work with you because you've proven yourself to be the expert. And here's another thing, 70% of a customer's journey happens before they ever talk to anyone. So we know when somebody is looking to buy a home, whether it's their first home or a subsequent home, they're already looking, right? They're already doing their research. You want to make sure that you get them at the beginning of their journey, that as they first say like, oh yeah, like, what does it mean to get a loan? How do I do that? You want to be noticed. You want to be available for them to find. And that all happens before the transaction. So I want you to ask yourself, what is one repeatable signature action before every transaction that you can come up with? Something that exceeds customers' expectation and sets you apart from your competitors. Maybe you can come up with something that is brandable to you, that you can give it a unique name to, that you say, hey, do you want your 4-step pre-buying approval or your 4-step pre-buying review, whatever it is, name it something so that it's only available if someone talks to you. And then tell everyone in your referral network, those attorneys that you know, those realtors that you know, those insurance agents that you know, everyone out there in your community, let them know that if they have a buyer who wants to go through whatever this process is, to send them your way. Now, the reality is that may just be a PDF and a phone call with you, but to a customer, that establishes the credibility. That makes them say, oh, I want this thing. So think about, what is that thing that you can do to establish yourself as the expert before they even know that they need to work with someone? Now, during the transactions where you guys are already probably doing the majority of your work, but I want to challenge you to bring the intentionality to the experience design of all of the interactions. Like, does somebody have the same experience with you at the beginning of the month as they do at the end of the month? Do they have the same experience in February as they do in August? Think of all the fluctuations that exist just because of the nature of the mortgage industry, and ask yourself, how can you minimize those? How can you use that intentional experience design to address those slow elevators? It may mean automating several steps of your customer's journey. It may mean delegating things to someone else on your team. But your goal here is to really ensure that people know that they can depend on things being a certain way. I think we've probably all had the experience of like going to a restaurant for the first time, loving what we got, going back a few days later and getting the exact same thing and it just like not being as good. And then that creates cognitive dissonance in our mind because we're like, why wasn't it good? What happened? If I come back a third time, am I going to get what I got the first time or the second time? We don't know. So making sure that you are predictably amazing, the repetition, so that during the transaction, your customers know what to expect and they feel comfortable referring their friends or coming back again because of what's happening. Now, you can find ways to use your uniqueness and what's different about you to incorporate into your customer's journey during the transaction. It can be anything. This is a picture I took when I was checking into one of Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville resorts. They offer you rum punch when you check in, which is like a great touch, right? This is a picture that I took from McAllister's deli where I love to go get my iced tea every day. And my expectations are always exceeded because there's always like a fun message waiting for me on my cup. So what are the little things that you can do to show someone that you care? Teddy Roosevelt said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. What are you doing to show someone that they are your most important customer, that their home and their family has your complete attention because it's your number one priority? And then after the experience, oh, these were two fun ideas of, you can go on Etsy and have somebody make a Lego model of any home out there. Or you can buy bags of Legos to give to the kids of your customers to say, why don't you build me your dream house or show me what you want your room to look like? You can also create custom Legos on a million different websites, including minifigs.me, for anything that you want to convey any message to your customer and have it look like them. So what is one repeatable signature action during every transaction that you can do? Something that exceeds your customer's expectation. So it takes that net neutral experience and elevates it to a net positive experience, and therefore sets you apart from your competitors. You want to make it something that's easy to either automate or delegate so that you can do it again and again and again without taking away from your bandwidth. And then finally, I want you to think about the experiences that you can map out after your transaction, because this is where a lot of relationships fall apart. We know that the overwhelming majority of people, I think it's something like 80%, do not work with their same lender the next time they get a loan. Why is that? Well, I believe in a lot of cases, it's because they simply forget that you exist, or they're confused because their loan got sold and they weren't expecting it. There was no communication from you about what a transfer of service meant, what it looked like, that it wasn't any kind of indication of the quality of that loan or something the homeowner had done or not done, but it's just a part of doing business. So make sure that after the transaction, you're clearly communicating with everyone that you work with about not just what it means to have that loan get to closing, but what's going to happen after. Let them know that they're going to start getting all those really weird, confusing, annoying things in the mail, and that they should ignore most of those. But if they get something from you saying there's been a transfer of service, they should pay attention. Or if they get something about their insurance or property taxes, that might look just like that junk mail from everybody trying to get them to do a refi, but it's not junk. So make sure you're staying alongside your customers. Now, of course, there are things you can do immediately after the close. You can stock somebody's fridge. You can make a puzzle of the listing photo of their home. There are so many things that you can do, but you can also really win and really set yourself apart just by communicating what they can expect. So, if somebody buys a home in your area, that there are things that are going to be true of every homeowner. They're going to need somebody maybe to cut their lawn in the summertime, or they're going to need somebody to help winterize their house before the weather gets cold. They're going to need to know when to plant grass seed, or they're going to, need to know what to do when there's a hailstorm and there's dents on the roof or there's siding. Establish yourself as their partner for everything they need with their home, so that if they have a question, whether it's about what exterminator they should hire or what the zoning rules are, they think to call you. This not only keeps you top of mind and gives them a reason to stay in touch with you so that the next time they need a mortgage or they're talking to someone who needs a mortgage, they think of you, but it also gives you the ability to be in very good favor of all of those people in your circle, those painters and those electricians and those flooring people, all of whom you can actively send business to when somebody who you've helped with a loan needs those services. So think about what you can do after every interaction that's going to exceed your customers' expectations, keep you relevant to them, because again, remember, super fans are created where your story and theirs overlaps. So you want that overlap to happen, and something that none of your competitors are doing, because then you're winning almost by default. And I want you to remember something. When you tell somebody that you're great, that's marketing. But when you exceed people's expectations, when you elevate those interactions to net positives and continue to show up in unexpected and valuable ways, people are going to talk. And when they do that, when those customers tell their friends and their colleagues, that is not marketing, my friends, that is magic. And it's magic that every single one of you can harness to exceed your customers' expectations and turn them into super fans. And with that, I'm going to exit out of my slides so that we can get into the Q&A that I promised you. You're on mute, Don.
I know, story of our life. Oh, mute. Great job, Brittany, as always. And we already got questions, and I have a page of notes. I always do. It's so funny, Brittany. I know a lot of your presentation. I love how you keep tweaking and add stuff, which is really great. But I always get a new pro, from it, and new ideas. It's amazing what we could do. I've been in our industry for 35 years. You think I would have figured it out after 35 years? And if that was the case, you probably wouldn't have a job, Brittany, because everybody'd already have it figured out. But it's really hard. We get stuck in day to day, just trying to make sure we do what is expected, meaning we close a loan. Let's say, for example, we sell somebody's home. We find a buyer a home, whatever it is. But do we make it a truly incredible experience? So I have a couple of questions, but I want to hit Donnie Tuttle, who, Donnie, he's one of our speakers. And it's cool having some of our peeps and our speakers involved in our community because they're our friends. So Donnie asked a couple of questions, and it's a good one, actually. Of course, Donnie has good questions.
Of course, it's good questions. Well, before we get to Donnie's question, I just wanted to address something that you said, which you've been doing this for more than 30 years, and you would think that you would have it figured out. Here's the thing. Customer experience is never done. It is not a set it and forget it, because the world that you are selling loans in today obviously looks very different from the world 35 years ago. So every single one of you on this call has to constantly adapt, constantly up your game. I mean, like I said, my kids, their expectations are just like completely crazy. We were in a Mexican restaurant a few months ago, and we sat down at the table, and the waitress came over and asked for our food. And my 5-year-old said, "Excuse me, did you know that if you had an app, we could have ordered our food on the way here and you could have delivered it to us right now?" And like, he wasn't even trying to be a dick. He was just like, like, maybe they don't know that like, this is a really inefficient way of like asking me what I want to eat. So your customers' expectations are going to continue to get higher. And again, people aren't just comparing you to like that last experience, buying a house or selling a house or refining. They're comparing it to the experiences they have everywhere else all around them in real time. So whether you've been doing this for 35 years or 3 years, what's going to get you where you want to go is not going to be what's gotten you to where you're at, because your customers' expectations are always changing, and the way that you adapt to those needs to change as well.
100%. And our industry, like you said, changes. I mean, there's a time when the refinance business, your experience was great if you got it done quickly versus the banks who were taking 90 days, not a great experience. Hey, you got our loan through in 30 days. Love you. Gonna tell everybody about it. So it depends on the market. Right now, there's no refi, so we got to come up with some, another way to create an amazing experience and retain as many clients. Because perfect example is when the refi boom, and I'm speaking to a lot of people in our industry, or when the real estate boom is happening, you don't think about the future, and if we would have done a better job of retaining our clients when it goes slower, you get what clients are there, meaning you get to the consumer first. And I love that you make it indelible that they remember you, because everybody says in the surveys, we always get the surveys that say 80% of people say they'll use the same person, whether it's a real estate agent, a loan officer, or whoever, their salesperson, could be his car salesman. I'll use them again. 20% do.
Yeah. And honestly, I think that's for a few reasons. Number one is because people just forget. And, we're living in a world where it's so simple to just like Google your way out of a problem or ask your friends for a recommendation. You've got to overpower that huge omnipresent foe, which is apathy. Like, people tell me all the time they have an awareness problem. It's not an awareness problem. It's an apathy problem. Like, plenty of people know who you are. They already worked with you, for God's sake. Like, they know who you are, but you've got to continue to be relevant. You've got to show them why they should care and why you are better than your competitors. So I'll jump into a couple of the questions. We have an anonymous question from Study Suit who says, do you have any tips for people who feel uncreative? Yes. The first thing I would say is you don't need to be creative. You just need to have customer centricity. You need to put yourself in your customer's shoes and figure out what it is that they want or need. And the superpower of every single one of you on this call is going to be completely different. So if you don't feel like you're creative, don't try to be. Don't try to win by having like the most fun or most memorable or coolest video campaign. Ask yourself what your superpower is and how you can lean into that to improve your customer's experience. Maybe you are like always the first to know market news and updates. Like maybe that's your thing. Maybe you're super responsive. Like maybe you know your neighborhood better than anybody else and can be that person who's like doing all of the referrals and helping out. Whatever it is, lean into that thing, but don't feel that you have to be like the most creative person on the planet. And everyone is creative, right? I firmly believe that like every single person has creativity in us because that's how we were created by our creator to have this creativity inside of us. It may just look different. Maybe you're really creative, you know, in spreadsheets, or you're really creative behind the scenes in the way you do stuff, but lean into your uniqueness, lean into your superpower. Somebody says, it's hard to feel abundant enough to do this when business is difficult. Any mindset hacks? Yes. Okay. A couple that I'm going to share. Number one, this comes from Marie Forleo. This really transformed the way I thought about my business. It's been a really crazy 4 or 5 months for me. I had a book that came out in January. I've already done like 20 something speaking events on the road this year. I've got 2 little kids. So like life is always crazy. And I did this course called Time Genius by Marie Forleo. And she said one of her mantras is, I don't do overwhelm. And she will just like repeat that to herself when she's feeling overwhelmed and remind herself that you get to choose whether or not you feel overwhelmed in any given point. And when you do feel overwhelmed, almost 100% of the time, it's because you're focusing on something from the past or the future instead of the present. You're worried about like all the stuff that you have to do, or you're thinking about the way you did a thing. So anytime you start to feel that overwhelm, say to yourself, I don't do overwhelm, and just work on that next right thing that you need to do. Now, Donnie asked about what are the things that we should automate versus being done by a human. And I think automation is another great way to help tackle that overwhelm when you feel like you just don't have the time. The reality is there are repeatable things in your business that you are doing like 500 times instead of taking the time to do it once and automate that. So don't be afraid to spend the time to create the systems, because the same way that there's compounded interest on your money, there is compounded interest on your time, positive and negative. And you want to make sure that you're being wise about the things that you do automate and schedule so that you free up that time to focus on those higher touch items. Somebody asked about CRM. Patrick, you asked about CRMs. I love Total Expert. It is amazing. It is, in my mind,
that's what we use.
The absolute best CRM that you can use in the mortgage industry. But here's what I'm going to say about CRMs. Every CRM works like birth control. It's less about the one you use and more about the way you use it. So you've got to be consistent and use that CRM the right way every time so that you don't wind up with any surprises, right? So Total Expert, but Total Expert with intentionality. Make sure you're entering your notes every time you have a call. Make sure you're setting up those drip campaigns. Make sure you're using the tags to make sure that people receive the content from those drip campaigns that you've built. And I promise you that just like compounded interest on your money, if you set aside 1 day or 2 days to get everything into your database in good shape, with a CRM like Total Expert that has the ability to create things, you will see a huge return, not just on the amount of time that you save, but also in those warm relationships of people who are, you know, making referrals, coming back to you for a second time, leaving you amazing reviews, etc.
Good in, because the CRM, obviously we run a team, quite a few salespeople, and the CRM is a tricky thing because some use it, some don't, some just put it on autoplay, which I think sometimes it's good to have a CRM. You have to connect with your clients some way, somehow. So I agree with you that if you don't set up your CRM correctly or use it correctly, or have better touch points of some kind, whether it's for like Gino and I, he laughed, but when he first started working, my best touch point was making birthday calls. You know, like, really? I'm like, I get more referrals for my birthday calls than anything else. Not about the market, not about where interest rates are, just calling them, picking up the phone. And I learned you can't do this anymore. You have to do this because nobody has a phone like this anymore.
Actually, it's so funny. I did this the other day, and my little one, who's almost 3, was like, banana, banana. And then he was like, nom, 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 like he thought I was taking banana.
Right. Gino just told me, he's got younger kids. He's, yeah, my kids are like, no, it's this now. So, but picking up the phone and calling them, and it's amazing. One client would never get upset with you calling for their birthday. Most of them said, my mom didn't even call, you know, because they text them, like my mom. So it's those touch points. So be careful how you use a CRM. It's a strategy. It's not in place of, it's just in addition to. So, and Gino just hit on that too.
Absolutely. And I think that goes back to what Donnie asked of like, what should you automate and what should you not? So this is not a cop-out answer at all. But my standard answer is you should automate anything that does not decrease your customer's experience. Anything that you can automate that someone will have the same or better experience, meaning, you know, it will be a better experience because it decreases the amount of time they're waiting to get an answer, or it decreases their you know, time of something else. Like that is something that's a good candidate for automation. I would not automate something that is going to add to frustration or a decrease in that customer's experience with whatever that touch point is. So if you, going back to this idea of intentional experience design and intentionally mapping out, like, what are all of those moments? What are all those touch points? When you do that, when you think about like look at the last 5 loans that you did. Take the time in a spreadsheet to say, and I actually even have an example of the spreadsheet that Dawn, I can send to you to distribute out to people. Like,
appreciate that.
Before, during, and after. What were all of those touch points? What were the phone calls? What were the emails? Where were they doing something on your website? Like, where are all of those touch points? And then ask yourself, where can you use automation? Even if it's something as simple as like a blanket template email that you can send that you're triggering, but you're like, not writing it from scratch every time. Like, what are the things that you can do at those different moments to save you time? Because every minute of time that you recover is a minute that you can reallocate to something that's going to have a larger impact, like those birthday calls that you just mentioned, Dawn, or like calling somebody to say like, hey, I have really great news. I just wanted to call and let you know that this loan is, you know, clear to close, or like whatever it is. What are those moments that you can do? I am a huge fan of like gifts, because even with the RESPA guidelines, you have the ability to make something that really makes somebody smile for like $5 or $10 and be totally compliant with all of the rules by taking some personal touch, either something they said or like a picture of their kids or something about the house or whatever, and turning it into like a watercolor portrait or a puzzle or even like a magnet for $4. Like, there are so many things that you can automate that take next to no time, but will create a memory, create a moment that people are going to think about when they see that artifact, whatever it is, in their house.
Let's see. What other questions? Donnie also was asking, is there certain moments that you find more impactful or unforgettable?
Yeah, so there's a great book called The Power of Moments by an author named Chip Heath that I highly recommend. It's a great book. And in the book, he talks about how people tend to remember the first thing, the last thing, the highest thing, and the lowest thing. So putting like a big bow on the experience at the end and looking for a way to celebrate that high point. And that's why I think traditionally, like, so many mortgage and title companies have had like the big giant key that they do at the closing table or something to be like, yay, like today is closing day. So that is a great book that you can check out. But I would say focus on how you set yourself apart in that first touch in the highest point of the touch. And then if there is sort of like one that's like putting the bow on it, something that not only exceeds their expectations, but also sets up the like, we've graduated to this new phase of our relationship where now I'm here to be your advisor for like everything you need to protect this huge, amazing new investment that you've made for yourself and your family.
Let's see what else we have. Um,
All right, Tonya, if you're going to share the link to that, I'm going to need you to share the link to my book, please.
yeah, right.
While you're on Amazon, while you're checking out the power, you can also check out Creating Superfans, How to Turn Your Customers into Lifelong Advocates. If you've enjoyed our time together, I would very much appreciate you picking up a copy of the book.
Well, what's nice, Brittany, is you walk through steps, examples that help you. You have to visualize it some. It can't be just, all of us can find ideas, or like you said, a perfect example, Toy Expert's amazing. We have literally hundreds of things we can send to our clients, but that doesn't make us any more creative or impactful. And the key thing is being impactful. I'm making notes, like it was cute. One of our good friends and friendly competitor in our market, Jeff Eisenberg, he's a great originator and a great guy. I love that he's been in this industry like us forever. And he's like, this motivates me to start it back up again, because you get complacent, you get apathetic, you just go by like, hey, I'm doing a good job for my clients, but that's not enough to really become impactful. And it's also, why don't you touch on the other benefit of not just getting the client back, but watching how it makes them feel. When you actually create an experience, like you talked about your kid jumping around and dancing, it made him feel the experience, not just look at a picture. He's feeling the experience. That changes everything. I know that's one thing that we're really good at PRMG, is creating a great experience for us and our team and our clients and partners by throwing events and parties and actually sharing these events with them and creating an experience for them so they like to be part of our experience. So share a little bit the values of that.
Well, and remembering that it's not about them being a part of your experience, it's about you being a part of their experience. So the people that you serve are not like the supporting cast of your life story. You are the supporting cast of their life story over and over and over and over and over again. So it's not about you, it's about them, and keeping that perspective and reminding yourself that, even if you're going to close 50 loans or 500 loans or whatever it is this month, guess how many they care about? One. Exactly one, because they're not buying a home, they're not getting a loan, they're buying their home, and this is their loan. And so you're there to be the supporting cast member for that story, rather than saying like, I'm the king or queen of Loanville and like, you are all my Loansville people. Like, that is a mindset shift that is incredibly grounding and will help you keep that customer centricity message front and center in all of your decision making.
Good. I love it. All right. I got 2 words I put here, R&R, because what I'm learning, and we have to get back to, it's funny, we're all getting back to basics. Even Jeff just said, he's like, he's talking about even us old dogs need a little kick in the butt once in a while, which you do. Gino and I just got a kick in the butt with the market shift. We are both diving back in different ways we ever were. We're in every single event. We're being at everything we can do. We're giving trainings. We're becoming relevant again. For a while there, I have to admit, during COVID, and we weren't relevant. We just got the transactions done. And now if there's no relevance and we're not a resource, why do they need us versus someone else, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think that relevancy is so key. It's like, I was thinking about this morning, like anybody with young kids knows, like, what was your kid's favorite food ever yesterday? Like, they may be repulsed by today, right? Or like between the 10 minutes of them asking you for macaroni and cheese and you making macaroni and cheese, they could like have a straight up meltdown of like, why would you make me macaroni and cheese? Do you hate me? Like, I don't want macaroni and cheese. Like, it's constantly changing. And the market is the same way. Like, you will not win in 2023 using the strategies that you used in 2020 or even 2022 or even the first quarter of 2023. You've got to constantly be paying attention and adapting to the dynamics, not just of the market, but to every customer you have. And, one of the things that I talk about a lot is this idea of the platinum rule and treating people not the way you would want to be treated in their shoes or the way you think they should want to be treated, but the way they want to be treated. So taking that time to get to know them, to show not just the authority, but also the empathy, and have that willingness to change again and again and again, because that adaptability in those situations of changing and tweaking just a little bit in all 50 of those loans is the difference between somebody saying like, yeah, that was fine. I mean, I closed on time, and wow, what an amazing partner. That was an incredible experience. And we've all been on the side of like choosing a partner. And when, one person says like, oh my gosh, it was an amazing experience, and somebody else says like, yeah, I guess it was okay, we knew who we're going to call every time.
Right. And it's, again, all about the experience. So we're getting close. Anybody else has questions, throw them out there. We're just kind of hitting, and like I said, I'm just hitting some of the notes. And as the leaders of our team, we're readjusting and adapting, as I was mentioning. But the other thing I thought of is kind of like the Ritz. When you go to a Ritz hotel, without a doubt, it's not just how luxurious it is. There's a lot of luxurious hotels. It's how you're treated and the experience they give you. And it's got to be from top to bottom, though, because if the bellboy doesn't do a great job, or the person at the front desk, it kills the entire experience. So it's a consistency. So now I'm thinking about how our team can create a better experience. And if we create these tangible experience makers before, during, and after, it's going to actually set up our team to think that way too, because they're like, wow, we have to set a better experience throughout the entire transaction. Because if it's go to the freezer, get the box, and just do your job, that's the way everybody is. So if we can create a before, during, and after for everybody that's involved in the team, everybody thinks that way, and we'll create that experience together. Because if our processor gets on the phone and says, hi, I need your W-2s and your pay stubs, can you get that to me by Monday? Experience gone. I don't care how good the LO was. If that person does a shitty job, or the last person, or the escrow company at the end that it handles the signing of the docs incorrectly, or they never hear from you again. I think probably the worst thing, they never hear from you again. Yeah. It just became transactional real quick, despite how you say, I'm going to take care of you and I'm going to be a great resource and I really care. But do you?
Until it closes and I get my commission and then I move on to the next.
Right?
No, that's a great point, Gino. You're exactly right. You have to model the behavior that you want on the outside with your team on the inside, because customer experience will never be better than employee experience. It will not. It cannot happen. It is impossible.
That's a good way to put it.
And an apathetic employee does not create an engaged customer. Period. Hard stop. Does not happen. So it is up to you to model what is acceptable, to model what is expected, and to create the opportunity for everybody to be empowered to stay in alignment with those principles.
Rick, and I love that. I mean, this is super motivating. And what's cool is we get to choose who comes on our show every week, and it's self-serving, because like, who do we want to hear from? Because we had Ryan Grant and Todd and Barry, and we're just fortunate to have people like professionals like you. But I like that I always loved you because you're outside the box. You're not really in industry. You understand our industry very well because you've been speaking in our industry, which helps you understand us better, because we've seen the traditional speakers that don't understand our language and what we do and our pain sometimes, our pain points at times. Can they really give us a certain value? They just speak like this and then buy my books. You actually understand our industry and how to create and experience stuff. And Gino, I know you're going nuts. We're almost done, but you have to have a question, dude. I know you're sitting there chomping at the bit, unless you can't get on the. There he is. I know.
I just got home. Hey, no fancy background, no fancy Zoom, just here listening, learning, and
nobody thought you were fancy in the first place, Gino.
But just thinking about like how much we've focused on how we feel when we're in the office, right? So sometimes I think our first customer needs to be ourselves. So if you want people at work to be happy, then you have to be happy, right? So I love this idea of inside out. So
Thank you, Gina.
first make yourself happy, then make your team happy, and then everybody will by osmosis share that joy with their clients. I mean, I think that's super gold, and we might forget that stuff regularly. So got to focus on the inside experience first.
100%. I love that so much. Put on your own oxygen mask first, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
oh
like
my
this.
gosh, I was flying home yesterday on a Southwest flight, and the flight attendant, you know, before they were doing like all the pre-flight stuff, got on the loudspeaker and said, "Hey, did anybody lose this?" And everybody looked up and he goes, "Works every time." And then he started into his presentation, which was just like one example of like a funny reframing of like, you know, nobody pays attention when it's like, "Oh, look this way for me to explain our 737 Boeing aircraft," whatever. But that was really funny.
That's funny.
Brittany,
I like that attention getter. I'm gonna
Hey,
remember
did anybody
something.
lose this?
and I don't know if I
It
don't know if
depends
I
what
missed
you're
this.
holding up too.
Exactly. He was
I don't know if
holding
I
a
You're like,
pamphlet of
"Anybody
like the
lose this?"
airplane. Yeah.
All the women will be like, "Huh? Not mine."
I don't know if I missed this, because this is something that I realized after I gave a presentation not too long ago. Because we had heard from you at the sales rally, I learned a few things and I started thinking about them and implementing them. And we did a presentation for real estate agents, and I was teaching them some of these things. And then at the end, I totally forgot to say, you know what's beautiful about all these things? You can do them for free. It doesn't cost any money to call someone. It doesn't cost any money to send them a handwritten note. If you don't have 47 cents, we'll send you 47 cents. Like, or what are they now? 54 or $1.22, whatever the postage is
Right.
now. But most of these things, it's not about the money you spend. The personal note can be worth more than the gift card you send.
Brittany's famous for
Amen.
that. I
You
get them
don't buy super fans.
almost every month, at least every holiday and birthdays, and you're really good at it, Brittany. I get personal notes. She walks the walk, by the way.
Well, I was answering that question because somebody asked in the Q&A, like, how do you come from abundance mindset in a scarce market? Do things that don't cost money but have an impact.
Have an impact, like Brittany does.
Oh, thank you
Well,
guys.
Brittany, thank you very much.
Brittany.
You're awesome. You're such an inspiration. Look at that.
Oh,
You know,
look
has
at
you
that.
all
I love that
prepped. Look
slide,
at
you guys.
Sonia. That's Sonia. She's
Thank
rocking.
you,
Sonia and
Sonia.
Katie.
You're
Sonia
the
and Katie
best.
always have us looking good. And they got a lot of work to make us look good. Trust us. I'm sure we have a couple more slides too, but get Brittany's book. It is fun, it's entertaining, and it'll change your career and your life, and it'll make you have fun. Honestly, if you're having fun, you'll like what you're doing and your clients will know it. Trust me, and
Thank
your
you.
team will know it. So you do a great job of creating super fans. All right, so we also have a discount for you. For those who are still on the call, we believe in going to the right events that can change your life, that are inspiring, that has the leaders that are doing something today that is working in this environment, not just what's happening later. We're partners in crime with Mastermind Summit. We love Matt, who's running it, and Steve and Marshall and that crew. We've gone to this thing almost every single year we possibly can. Matt's done a great job of putting together an amazing group of speakers. You have to invest in yourself throughout the year. We believe that, of course, momentum builder at the beginning of the year to get your butt kicked and get you motivated and ready to have your best year. And then middle of the year, because you might drop off, you might forget things, you might not be as motivated, or get the latest messages of what's working in today's market. So you need to go to Mastermind Summit. And then we always go to Sales Mastery towards the end of the year. That's our trifecta. It changes our world, and Brittany's part of these events often, and we have a discount for you. So please use our MMB 2023 discount code. Sign up today. This is going to sell out. They've moved it from the Palms to the Mirage. Vegas, baby. Always a good time. We will be there. We'd love our tribe to come find us, shake hands with us, see us, have a drink with us, because we're not presenting. Oh, we are presenting a little bit, but we're not hosting, so we can actually have fun. Brittany, you can appreciate that, right? When you're hosting the whole event, you got to stay on cue and all this. This time, we get to go have fun and pay attention. It's gonna be great.
Yes. And if you thought buttoned up corporate running the show, Don and Gino were fun, you just wait until you get to hang out with like here to have a good time, Don and Gino. It's gonna be a blast.
Danger,
right.
Will Robinson, danger.
Right. Okay. And then we probably have a slide. Here's our next two speakers. Kind of know one of them was on the call today. My business coach right there and good friend, Donnie Tuttle. He's going to be on, and love Donnie. Donnie is great, and he's really good at answering questions and engaging with you. And he's been a godsend for me and a good friend. And he's going to be on next week. We do this every week. And then we have the man, the show up, hustle, repeat, the Mr. Energy himself, Josh Pitts. I know Brittany knows Josh. You guys are just as connected as we are. And we're going to keep this. If there's certain speakers you'd like to listen to or have on the show, let us know. It's all about you, but stay engaged. Share this with your friends. We're trying to build a community. We want this to build up to 2,000. We're above 500 already. Brittany, how about that for just less than 2 months, huh?
That's
over
amazing.
500 now and growing.
And I can personally attest to
engage
the
in the
brilliance
app.
of both
Engage
Josh
in the
and
app.
Donnie. So make sure that you come the next 2 weeks to see those guys because they are absolutely incredible.
Well, thank you
Engage
for
in the
being
app,
part of our
guys.
community.
We promise we're going to post something every day. It's so hard to come up with something every single day, but we will. Something good.
Right.
Awesome. Well, thank you
I
guys again
tried
for
to
having me.
post something
Thank you,
funny.
Loanne, for buying
I
the
tried
book
to
for your
post
team.
something funny today, but Katie said no. Put it on your Facebook. I'm like, okay.
Thank you all for being part of this. Thank you again. Get Brittany's book, order it today. Actually, order a bunch. Give them to your clients. They'll thank you for it. Give it to your referral partners. They'll thank you for it. You guys can create super fans together. That's a real relationship. That's a real partnership. That's the difference.
Well,
All right,
thank you for that, Don. And I will tell you, for anybody who wants to buy multiple copies, just send me an email. I'm Brittany@BrittanyHodak.com. I will send you autographed book plates and metal bookmarks. So I have people who have bought 15, 20, 25, 30 on Amazon. They've just let me know. I'll personalize those stickers so that when you gift them to a realtor or somebody else in your network, they're personalized and autographed and they have a cool little something extra inside. So I know I'm completely.
You always know how to take the next level. You always know how to take the next level, Brittany.
Oh, well, thank you. Brittany, yes, thank you for putting that in there. Brittany at BrittanyHodak.com. I'll be happy to send those out for anybody who wants them. Thank you guys again for hanging
And they
out.
should sign up for, I get your updates on a regular basis with
Oh, yeah.
inspiration, thought processes, ideas. I do pay attention to them. They're great. I share them with my team. You just had one about, was it Gene? I just sent, you had one.
Out of office messages.
Out of office messages.
Hey, that was really cool because, you know, we've all gotten the generic out of office and it just kind of shuts you down, right? You expect a response and you get that instant response that says there's no response for you. It's like a horrible experience. And so I thought, how cool is that? Hey, I'm taking some time off this weekend. I'm taking my kids camping. My kids haven't been camping since before COVID, blah, blah, blah. Hey,
Tell me about your first camping trip, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's
Everything's
just
experience. Every touch point matters. Every single touch point is an opportunity to be forgettable or unforgettable.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, I think that we live in a world where authenticity is important. So be careful, world. I'm just going to be myself.
We love our Gino. And we love you, Brittany. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you, Donnie and Jeff and some of our friends.